My love of video games started on the original NES. Today, I'm going to be talking through all of the NES games that I had as a kid and what I think about them today. My name is James, and I started this channel simply because I love video games. If that sounds like you, please subscribe to my channel so you can see more videos just like this one. The original NES came out in mid-80s. I want to say 85, 86, somewhere in there. So the NES is definitely before my time, and I would say the Super Nintendo would also be before my time. However, when I was growing up, my dad had an NES. People probably would have viewed him as like too old to be playing video games, but he had his own NES, and by having that NES and playing that NES and exposing me to that NES really started it all for me. Today, I am in possession of that same NES and a small stack of games here. So I'm going to be quickly running through this stack of only 7 games, and I'm going to be talking briefly about what I remember about playing them as a kid and what I think about them today. Up first, we've got Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt. We're going to start with Duck Hunt. This one, I don't remember playing it a ton as a kid. I definitely played Super Mario Bros. More, but I remember using the Nintendo Zapper, and on your analog TVs, you could cheat when you were playing Duck Hunt and get like right up to you could basically put the Zapper up against the TV and it would work, which was really interesting. I don't remember much about the game. I just remember, obviously, I remember the ducks flying into the air and you shooting them, and if you didn't get enough of them, or if you missed all of the ducks completely, the dog would like laugh at you. And I remember being so annoyed by this laughing dog. And I do also remember later on, once TVs started to get into HD and they started being a little more like digital, the Zapper quit working because it didn't have, I don't know how it worked, but it didn't have something that it needed. So that was disappointing to me later on, but that would have already been in the 2006, 2007, probably when I was trying to go back and kind of learn about some of those early childhood games for me. Super Mario Bros. I have a lot of really fond memories of playing Super Mario Bros. And I do also remember my dad playing it quite a bit. Not as much as I remember him playing other games that I guess I'll talk about when I get to them. Looking back now, so I don't know what the best way to play Duck Hunt is today. Super Mario Bros. 1 is on Nintendo Switch Online, which is how I actually played it earlier this year. And yeah, I don't know that I have much else to say about that. Up next is Super Mario Bros. 2. This was my favorite of the 3 Mario Bros. Games when I was a kid. I thought it was so cool that you got to choose your different character, and they had like different abilities, and that like Peach, I actually always liked playing as Peach because of her like floaty jump thing that she would do. I always really liked that. But I don't ever remember getting past like the second or third level. I definitely never beat this game as a kid. This is another one that I actually did play earlier this year on Nintendo Switch Online, and it was pretty fun. And finally, we get to Super Mario Bros. 3. This is the one, I don't have very many memories of playing this myself as a kid. I know that I did, But I have a lot of memories of watching my dad play this one. And today, this is easily my favorite of that trilogy. It's the one that I think just plays the best, and it's, looking back at it now, it's crazy to me that Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 3 are all running on the same hardware, because it looks like completely different generations. And just like Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2, I did actually play this game earlier this year on Nintendo Switch Online. And as far as I know, I beat it for the first time. Up next is Super Pitfall. This is one that I never really hear anybody talking about. And actually, within the last couple years, I always assumed that whatever version of a game is on NES, or for a while, I always assumed that whatever version of a game is on NES is like the first version of it. I think there was a game just called Pitfall, and so Super Pitfall would be the sequel to that game, but I don't really know. This one, I always really liked. Let's see if I can get that in there. Yeah, I always really liked the box art, or the cover art on this one. It looked very like Indiana Jones to me, and I remember liking the art more than liking the actual game. I'd be interested to go back and play this game now. I didn't look up and see where this game's available, if anywhere. But I remember it being very difficult, and I remember dying by falling in pits a lot. Hence the name Super Pitfall. Up next, we've got Top Gun, the movie tie-in game to the 1987? Maybe 1987? That sounds right. To the 1987 film Top Gun. And this one is probably the game that I had the worst memory of. Not worst in that I didn't like it, but worst in that what I remember this game being is really not what it was at all. When I was getting ready to shoot this video, I watched some clips of Top Gun, and first off, apparently the game is only 4 levels, and it's like a first person like flight sim where you're shooting down ships and launching missiles and doing all kinds of stuff, and I don't remember any of that, because I guess I was able to get through the first level, like through all the ships and stuff that you have to fight in the first level pretty easily, but I was never able to beat the first level because I was never able to land properly. That I always crashed on the landing. It didn't seem to make sense to me. And no matter what I did, I always just seemed to mess it up somehow. Next up, we've got Contra. This one, I actually do remember playing a little bit more, not as much as the first 3 Super Mario Bros. Games, but definitely more than Pitfall and Top Gun. This one, I would often try to get my sister to play with me. In theory, this game shouldn't be that difficult, because you're given all these really cool weapons, and oh, by the way, Contra, for those of you that don't know, is a 2D side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. But, so, you're given all these really cool weapons, and enemies, for the most part, except for bosses, only take 1 hit to kill, so you'd think that this would be, like, really easy. So, it's possible that I was just really bad at this game, but I don't remember. I know that we beat the first level. The first level, the boss at the end of it, I think is this like armored tank, but we didn't understand what it was. We didn't understand. We always just referred to the boss of the end of the first level as the blue refrigerator, because that's what it looked like to us. I don't know how many levels there are. but I know that we beat the first level, and we might have also been able to beat the second level. And something else that I should feel like I should talk about here is that Contra was my personal introduction to the Konami code, which in this game, it lets you start the game with 30 lives instead of just 3. And so once again, this is a game that I was not able to beat as a kid. It's possible that I never actually beat any games until N64. Up next, and the final game that I have here physically, is Batman the video game, based off of Batman 1989. This is actually regarded to be a pretty good Batman game, and it got a sequel, which I think was called like Batman Return of the Joker or something like that. Obviously, as a kid, I wanted to be into this game because it's Batman, right? And if I remember correctly, this game only has about 5 or 6 levels. I was never able to get past like the first couple screens in the first level because I was so bad at this game. Also, it bothered me that Batman was purple. I don't know why that bothered me, but I also don't know why they would do that, make him purple instead of like blue. But yeah, Sunsoft Batman, and as far as I know, this game is stuck on NES. Not really a great way out there to play it. This is one, when I think about NES games that I feel like I kind of missed out on, Sunsoft Batman is definitely one, even though I have it, obviously. And so every once in a while, I do think about trying to connect my NES so that I can play this game, and maybe I would have what it takes to do it now. That's all the games I have here. I have a few other games that I want to talk about. First one is The Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. I mentioned in my GameCube video that Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition was my introduction to both of those games, but both of those are available originally on NES, so I think those are worth shouting out. And then also, some other games that I played but never owned were the original Metroid, which was very difficult and I didn't get it. Paperboy was a fun one, riding down the street, throwing paper into people's windows and stuff. I was really bad at that one too. I was really bad. It seems like I was just really bad at every game. There was a TMNT game. It might have just been called TMNT, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Can't forget Dr. Mario. And I really do think that that's about it. Thank you so much for watching this video. In the comment section, let me know what your favorite NES games were as a kid. As always, the best way to keep up with me is on Twitter and on Instagram at James_Solar. Thanks, guys.